Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our session webinar from The Optimist. Optimist is a nonprofit based in New York and Bangladesh. We've been supporting almost 1,300 students in Bangladesh, and this is a job-related webinar we are doing on behalf of Optimist. And I'd like to welcome two of our guests today, Mr. Mohammad Jaman from Amazon, and Ray Hassan from Twitch, and it's an Amazon company also. Our session is about today, disruptive job market and post-pandemic opportunities. And we like to start with our introduction of both of our guests. So I will give the floor to both of our guests to discuss, tell us a little bit about themselves, and we can go from there. Just give me a second. Jaman bhai, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks. First of all, Shahid bhai, and I really appreciate this platform that's helping and providing through Optimist to help out whatever the career and the job opportunities that we should actually focus on post-pandemic situation. Again, my name is Mohammed Zaman and Mahdi Zaman. I work for Amazon Web Services, as well as I have founded an organization called Cloud Camp Bangladesh. We always try to help people with emerging technology, especially if you're in IT. What are the things you need to know? What are the things you need to learn? I've been doing a lot of sessions. Obviously, there is a lot of things. A lot of our viewers might already know that, but most of them are focused on IT, information technology related, from Bangladesh. And I've been leading a bunch of different components. One of the big things that I've been working with bases in Bangladesh is the NASA Space Earth Challenge, and that's being participated by with a lot of students, especially, and the IT organization in Bangladesh. And Shahid bhai, back to you.
Thank you. Ray, our second guest for this session is Ray Hassan. Ray, can you introduce yourself?
Of course. Again, thank you for letting me be here, Shahid bhai, as well as Optimists. I think I learned about it from you very recently, so super excited to be here to share some knowledge from my perspective as a recruiter. So currently I'm a recruiter over at Twitch. Some of you may or may not be familiar. It's an online live video streaming platform, one of the largest, built around video games. It is also an Amazon company, so myself and Zaman bhai are in the same large family. Prior to Amazon, I was over at Activision Blizzard, known for making some, really famous video games again, focused around hiring talent for sales, operations, marketing, etc. My core focus has been around non-technical roles. So I guess I'm a really good complement to, again, Zaman bhai, to discuss careers and opportunities within non-technical pathways. So anything outside of engineering or product, I can help you help navigate that path.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray and Mr. Jaman. Before we start, we want to discuss a little bit about Optimist, what we've been doing for last 6 months in this pandemic time, or last 4 months, I would say. So Optimist has been there for last 19 years as an organization, and I'm the current president. It is a volunteer-driven organization. We have no current employees in US. We support 1,300 kids in Bangladesh. For student, for education and health. So one of the things we have done since the pandemic started, that we have collected almost $12,000 through our Facebook campaign, and we provided masks to 3 hospitals in New York City when it was hit hard by COVID-19. And then we also donated in multiple hospitals and different areas in Bangladesh, similar mask and PIP in Bangladesh also. We also have started doing some of the webinar in different areas, and this 3 webinar we have done in last few months. And one of the key problem we faced in the pandemic time. These 1,300 kids, which we were giving them money actually every 6 months from our sponsor here, and distributing that money was really hard for us because of the fact that nobody could go and meet with them. So we actually went digital. We collected all the students' Bcash payment information, and we are happy to announce in this webinar that we actually made our first payment, even though at least a month late. We usually make the payment on May. We did it in June. All the students received their first half of the payment through Bcash. So we are being digital. The main reason of having this webinar from our optimist perspective, that we have a lot of sponsor volunteer in US market, and we also have a lot of people in Bangladesh. Since we are an educational we are trying educational institute helping people. We are trying to help our community to see that what can they get help from. Because of the pandemic, a lot of people are uncomfortable. We received a lot of feedback that people are struggling with the job market. They don't know what is coming on their way and what are the future of it. So first I will jump into a little bit about this side of it, where Ray, I think these are your topics you want to discuss. Maybe we'll is it Mr. Jaman your topic, or I forgot whose topic was that? Mandatory leadership culture for the job seeker, required hard skill for progressive tech career, continuous development and learning mechanism. That's yours, Jaman Bhai. Jaman Bhai, I think you should start. I don't need to give you, you know what to talk about.
থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। হ্যাঁ, শাহেদ ভাই এবং সবাই যারা বাংলাদেশ থেকে দেখছেন বা এখানে বাঙালি যারা আছেন, আমি সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি আরেকবার। এই প্রোগ্রামটা আমরা যেভাবে সাজানো আছে, শাহেদ ভাই যেভাবে বলছেন, দিস ইজ রিয়েলি ইম্পর্টেন্ট একটা স্টেপ রাইট নাও, বিকজ যখন আমরা দেখলাম প্যান্ডেমিকে, যদি ইফ উই আর লুকিং এট দ্যাট সিচুয়েশন, দ্য ওয়ে ইট ইজ বিং প্লেইং আউট, what are the things happening, just to set the stage, অনেক জব লস হয়েছে। হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু আমরা জানি যে নিউ ইয়র্ক সিটি অথবা আমেরিকাতে বেশ কিছু স্টিমুলাস ফান্ডিং আছে, এই কারণে হয়তো আমরা এই মুহূর্তে এগ্রেসিভলি লুক করতেছি না, বাট দেয়ার ইজ এ ম্যাসিভ অ্যামাউন্ট অফ জব লস। I heard the number is about 50 million job loss in the US alone. So তার মানে it's going to be very hard hit in the economy and coming in near future. However, at the same time, যদি আমরা দেখি where the opportunity is coming in, the opportunity is fundamentally coming in completely different sector, in the tech sector. Tech sector was always growing. Tech sector has been very, very good, and we know that. We have been working on that for quite some time. আমরা যদি দেখি যে 20 বছর আগে ছিল যেমন কোম্পানিগুলা, মোবাইল, এই ধরনের কোম্পানি, জিই এদের মতো কোম্পানি, দেওয়ার IBM এদের মতো কোম্পানি ছিল টপ 10 বা টপ Fortune 100 বা Fortune 500 কোম্পানিতে 90% of them were like that. Now 90% of them are completely coming from tech. Now, because of the fact we're in that really in the fourth industrial revolution, যদি আমরা বলি, বা চতুর্থ শিল্প বিপ্লব যদি আমরা বলি, we're in that world. That means that technology is integrated part of our life. And in fact, আমাদের সেলফোন গুলো হয়ে গেছে আমাদের যে অনেকটা আমাদের তৃতীয় হাতের মতন, যে if we don't have it, we don't feel comfortable. So this is next revolution that we need to get in. If we don't know about tech, we need to know about tech for our career. তার মানে আমরা এই ক্যারিয়ার যদি গ্রো করতে চাই, we need to know what good tech is and which tech actually are needed now. So for that, যে আমরা যে ডিসরাপশনের কথা বলছি, মেজর ডিসরাপশন, তাই না? আমরা দেখতেছি হেলথ কেয়ারে আমাদের অনেক কিছু মোবাইল হয়ে গেছে, যে হেলথ কেয়ার সেক্টর কিন্তু টেকে অনেক পিছিয়ে ছিল সত্যি কথা বলতে। এডুকেশন সেক্টরে there is a massive amount of growth happened, and এডুকেশন সেক্টর কিন্তু টেকে অনেক পিছিয়ে ছিল। At the same time, we can see like companies like Zoom, companies, আমরা আগে জুম হয়তো অনেকে জানতামই না, কিন্তু এই প্যান্ডেমিকের কারণে আমরা এখন জুমিং করা বলে, মানে we made it a verb almost. So this and just একটা এক্সাম্পল হলো, জুমের রেভিনিউ সবগুলা কার ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং রেভিনিউ কম্বাইনের চেয়ে বেশি, টপ 7 গ্লোবাল কার। তার মানে দিস আর গ্রোয়িং ম্যাসিভলি। অপরচুনিটিটা কোথায়? অপরচুনিটিটা হলো রাইট নাও ইন দ্য টেক সেক্টর ইজ হায়ারিং লাইক ক্রেজি। আমাজন হায়ার করে 1,75,000 এমপ্লয়ি। ইনস্টাকার্ট নামে একটা কোম্পানি আছে যারা বাসায় ডেলিভারি দেয়, কস্টকো থেকে আমরা বা বিভিন্ন জায়গা থেকে ডেলিভারি নিচ্ছি, এই ডেলিভারি গুলো বাসায় দিচ্ছে। দে হায়ার 5 লক্ষ এমপ্লয়ি। অন্যান্য অনেকে তাদের কোম্পানি বন্ধ করে দিচ্ছে, যে ক্রুর মতো রিটেল ইন্ডাস্ট্রি গুলো দেয়ার ভেরি হেভিলি ইফেক্টেড। তারা ব্যাংক্রাপসি ঘোষণা করেছে, তাদের 500 রিটেল স্টোর বন্ধ করে দিচ্ছে। there massive amount of negative thing happening on our job is getting lost, but at the same time there is a massive amount of uprise is happening. So for that, what I figured out, we need fundamentally 3 things we really need to focus on. একটা mandatory leadership culture for ourselves. We need to disrupt ourselves. আমরা আগে যেটা করতাম, আমরা একটা জব করতাম বা চাকরি করতাম, একটা জায়গায় যেতাম, সেখানে বলা হতো আমি এইসব এইসব করতে হবে, এবং সেটা আমরা করতাম, আবার বাসায় চলে আসতাম। It was like যেতাম, কাজ করতাম, চলে আসতাম। Now tech sector is completely different. In fact, what's happening in the tech sector is you have to be the leader for yourself, for the company. আমরা যদি আমি যদি বলি আমি এখানে কাজ করি, সেখানে we are the leader, we make our own decision. আমরা ওই যে ওয়েট করি না যে আচ্ছা আমার তো এই 5টা জিনিস করতে হবে, না না না, we look at it, we do it, but we always figure out what are the way I can do it and make it much much better. হ্যাঁ, আমি যদি বলতে পারি যে আমি তো ম্যাকডোনাল্ডস এ বার্গার ফ্লিপ করি, fantastic. If we gotta take it around and we have to actually make ourselves leader, there are a lot of cultural change we need to do, adopt with. For example, tech sector একটা মেজর ডিসরাপশন হলো আমরা বাসা থেকে কাজ করছি। তার মানে আমাদের বাসাতে অফিস বানাতে হচ্ছে। ইনফ্যাক্ট আমরা যদি সকালবেলা ঘুম থেকে উঠে আমাদের রেগুলার কাপড় পরে যদি বসে পড়ি, দ্যাটস নট দ্য রাইট ওয়ে অফ ডুইং ইট। তখন দেখা যায় যে মানে অফিসের মেন্টালিটি হচ্ছে না। I come to a different room, I'm কাপড় চোপড়ে বসে, I set it up, I have everything that I needed in that facility. So I have to kind of like change myself, আমার মেন্টালিটি, যদিও বাসা থেকে কাজ করতেছি। So there are so many other cultural elements that we need to really do. So that's number one thing, meaning culturally we have to be the leader for our career and for our profession. It's not a job anymore, it's a profession that absolutely I have to be the leader. I have to build my own brand, meaning that আমরা যে পার্সন থাকবো, আমাদের নিজেদের ব্র্যান্ডটা নিজেদেরকে বানাতে হবে। This is how I am known for, this is what I do, this is how I contribute. So that's the number thing. So it's a full leadership culture versus I would say যে আমি অর্ডার নিব, আমি একটা কাজে গেলাম, একটা পাঞ্চ ইন পাঞ্চ আউট করলাম, 5টা জিনিস করতে হবে, চেক 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 চেক। So we need to get out of that mentality, come to that I'm the leader, I'm the brand, I am taking the company to the next level. It doesn't matter আমি যদি জ্যানিটরও হয়ে থাকি, আমি যদি একজন জাস্ট পার্সোনাল অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট হয়ে থাকি, আমি যদি সফট কোডার হয়ে থাকি, আমি যদি একজন এক্সিকিউটিভ হয়ে থাকি, we are all the leader and we have same authority and empowerment to change the organization to the next level. Number 2, hard skills. So specifically, আমি যদি progressive tech career নিতে চাই, there is a lot of confusion right now. আমি স্পেসিফিকলি তাদের জন্য বলবো যাদের কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড আছে বা আইটি ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড আছে বা ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড আছে। Why am I talking about that? This is very important right now because আমি যদি পুরনো টেকনোলজি নিয়ে কাজ করি, টেকনোলজি is moving so fast, almost like every day নতুন টেকনোলজি আসছে, so we cannot go back too far out, কারণ সেগুলোকে আমরা বলতে পারি যে আমাদের পিছে টেনে রাখার মতন, বা ইংরেজিতে আমরা বলি বোট অ্যাঙ্কর। বোট অ্যাঙ্কর মানে কি? একটা বড় নোংরটা ফেলে রাখলে ওই বোটটা কিন্তু যেতে পারে না, নৌকাটা। হ্যাঁ, সো আমি যদি পুরনো টেকনোলজি ব্যবহার করি, then this is not gonna be good for my brand, my organization, for myself, or anything. So we need to actually spend almost the similar and same amount of time to learn the new technologies. That's the real hard skill needed. Not only that, we actually need to know a lot more than that. We need to have a comprehensive point of view and learn everything about it. So let me give you a specific example. For example, আমি যদি ক্লাউড সার্ভিসেসে আমাজনে যদি আমি চাকরি করতে চাই, তাহলে আমার কি করতে হবে? I need to be fully studied AWS, Amazon Web Services. যদি আমি 12টা সার্টিফিকেট আছে, I have to complete all of them. That's a baseline. That doesn't mean that I'm super expert. I am extraordinary. That's just the baseline, and that is a very hard skill that you're gonna need to begin with. That's number 1 thing. Number 2 things. What do I need to know? I need to know the latest and greatest technology because that's the thing that are gonna get me hired. For example, আমি যেটা নিয়ে সবচেয়ে বেশি কথা বলি, সার্ভারলেস টেকনোলজি। কেন সার্ভারলেস টেকনোলজি কেন আমার জানতে হবে? কারণ এটাতে একটা কোম্পানি আগে আইটি চালাতে গেলে যদি 100 টাকা খরচ হতো, আমি যদি সার্ভারলেস করি 10 টাকা খরচ হবে। এটাতে আগে আমার বিজনেস ডিসিশন নিতে গেলে আমার 6 মাস সময় লাগতো, এটাতে আমি 1 ঘন্টার মধ্যে, তার মানে আমার একটা নতুন আইডিয়া আসলো, আইডিয়াটার সাথে সাথে 1 ঘন্টার মধ্যে আমি এটা কাজে লাগাতে পারতেছি। যে ডিসরাপশন, প্যান্ডেমিক একটা মেজর ডিসরাপশন, যখন ডিসরাপ্ট হলো, যারা সার্ভারলেস ছিল দে ক্যান গ্রো র্যাপিডলি উইদাউট এ কোয়েশ্চেন। নেক্সট, is continuous development and learning mechanism. So we kind of like need to, এটাকেও আমি 3 ভাগে ভাগ করি, যেটা we need to learn how to learn, কারণ আমাদের শিখতে হবে কিভাবে শেখা দরকার। আগে আমরা মানুষ আমাকে বলতো দেখে আমি শিখতাম, কিন্তু এখন লার্নিং টুলগুলো এত ওয়াইডলি অ্যাভেইলেবল, ইউটিউবে অ্যাভেইলেবল, গুগলে অ্যাভেইলেবল, ইউডেমি আছে, কোর্সেরা আছে, ইউডাসিটি আছে, ইভেন এমআইটির অনেক ওপেন কোর্স আছে, বড় বড় ইনস্টিটিউশনে, দে হ্যাভ সো মেনি থিংস। সো আই নিড টু নো, we all need to know how to learn. So we need to learn how to learn. That's number 1. Number 2 is we need to learn how to think. This is a very big difference. আগে আমাদের চিন্তা করতে হতো না, কেউ একজন বলে দিত, সেটা আমরা করতাম। That day is completely over. Now for continuous development especially, we have to know, we have to learn actually how to think. এটা বেশ কিছু স্ট্যান্ডার্ড মেকানিজম আছে, যেমন স্ট্যানফোর্ডের, এমআইটি, এসএপি, বড় বড় কোম্পানি মিলে একটা স্ট্যান্ডার্ড, গ্লোবাল স্ট্যান্ডার্ড বানিয়েছে, ওপেন সোর্স, এনিবডি ক্যান লার্ন ইট, কল ডিজাইন থিঙ্কিং প্রসেস, তাই না? এই কিভাবে আমি আমার একটা আইডিয়া হলো, সেটাকে আমি কিভাবে বাস্তবে পরিণত করব, সে ডিজাইন থিঙ্কিং প্রসেস যদি আমি শিখবো, সো দ্যাট অ্যাকচুয়ালি টিচেস মি হাউ টু থিঙ্ক। সেকেন্ড, এই থিঙ্কিং প্রসেসটা আরেকটা জিনিস হলো যে we need to actually really read a lot. I'll talk about that in the third one more, but আমরা অন্য লোকের এক্সপেরিয়েন্স থেকে আমি এটা শিখবো। সো বিকজ তারা বিভিন্নভাবে চিন্তা করতেছে, সেই চিন্তাটাও আমাদের শিখতে হবে। And the third thing, obviously we need to read a lot. Really, আমাদের ডাইভার্সিফিকেশন দরকার। সো how we can be extremely inclusive and extremely diversified, because we can think only what we know. আমাদের যদি 10 জন 10 রকমের হয়ে থাকে, আমরা জানি আমরা নিউ ইয়র্কে যদি থেকে থাকি, we can see so much diversification. We need to get the positive ideas from each one of them, and we absolutely need to do that. And that's how we can develop ourselves. Our humility, our humbleness, যে আমরা বেশি জানি, এই কথাটা আমি জানি, আমি একজন এক্সপার্ট, that's a very wrong thing to do. কারণ আমি আজকে এই মুহূর্তে আমি এক্সপার্ট বলার সাথে সাথে 10টা জিনিস বের হয়ে আসলো, স্পেশালি টেক সেক্টরে, then I'm no longer expert. আমার ক্লেমটাও ভুল, তাই না? তো and when I learn, I'm not only learning from সম্মনা, আমার মতো বা আমার বয়সী বা আমার মত, আমি যেই সাবজেক্টে আছি সেটা, no, we need to actually diversify. Somebody maybe আফ্রিকা থেকে এসছে, মেবি সাউথ আমেরিকা থেকে আসছে, মেবি বাংলাদেশ থেকে আসছে, থাইল্যান্ড থেকে, নেপাল থেকে আসছে, এবং somebody may be completely different. Maybe they are special, maybe they are autistic, maybe they are other some sort of specialty তাদের আছে, মানে যে আমরা যেগুলোকে ডিসঅ্যাডভান্টেজ মনে করি, they have some element that I don't have. So we have that inclusivity that we need to get, and we need to develop ourselves on those positivity. So let me just summarize all 3 of them. We talked about quite a bit. The mandatory leadership, we're no longer a servant, we are a leader. We are not taking an order, we're not serving, we're actually leading. So that's the number 1 thing that we need to do. Number 2, there is a specific hard skill that we need to learn, and there is mechanism, there are foundation, and the new emerging technologies that we need to know. Then we need to develop ourselves continuously by learning how to learn, by learning how to think, as well as by inclusiveness and diversification of all our mentality and all of the things that we do. So I'll give it back to Shoaib Bhai. If anybody has any question, we will answer those things at some point. But
Yeah, we
Shoaib
have
Bhai,
a Q&A section. Thank you, Jaman Bhai. It was a very good overview. Let's go back. Let's move to Ray. Ray is going to talk about non-technical side of it mostly. And Ray, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm actually going to piggyback off of Zaman Bhai. I think the first thing he called out was being your own leader in your own career. Another word I like using is ownership, right? Taking kind of ownership of your own destiny, right? Not just now, but forever. I think it's definitely super fruitful. I'll speak about 3 main things during our topic today, during our discussion. 1 is how to stand out in this competitive market. 2, skills you need to continuously sharpen, whether you're unemployed or happily employed. And 3rd, we'll talk about some traditionally non-technical roles to consider. I've seen a lot of Bangladeshi people look for roles which are technical or product-centric, which are awesome. But we also have opportunities to advance within non-technical roles as well, such as sales, marketing, even recruiting, which I'll touch upon towards the end. So to get started, Right now is a super competitive market, and it will be this way, I think, for some time. We'll see how it pans out. But I'd love to kind of share some tips and tricks of how to stand out from the rest of the crowd. I have some points written down here. So one thing is your main place as to stand out as a brand is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn has become the online resource for job goers as well as recruiters as well as hiring managers to find any kind of talent. So LinkedIn is your number one place online to really set your mark. And a few things to kind of highlight within LinkedIn. So one is definitely a photo, right? To have like a engaging photo, either smiling or looks like you're approachable. There's a certain way to do it. If you want more details, I can share that towards the end. But it starts with the photo. The second thing is your subject line, right? So having a attractive subject line of what your expertise has been in, what you have built your career around. Like for example, mine is around what I do right now, which is sales recruiter at Twitch. So subject line is definitely important. And then to go really into your work experience, right? So to put in places you've worked at, a abbreviated version of essentially your resume without all the main details, just an abbreviated version that really highlights your key successes within your specific jobs that you've held. And the other part, and the last part I kind of like to add into LinkedIn is outside of work experiences, right? So for example, if you volunteer somewhere, if you're affiliated with the Optimists, for example, I have 2 different organizations that I work with as well. So I have that on my LinkedIn to show, a more dynamic side of you beyond just, what you do for work. Oftentimes recruiters or hiring managers will use those things as a way to, build a relationship or have a common base to connect with. Moving on from LinkedIn, the second thing to really make you stand out is your resume, right? As you can imagine, recruiters, hiring managers, we get resumes all the time, and we see literally like hundreds, if not thousands of them on a given, say a given week. So there are certain things you can do to make your resume stand out. And I won't go into specific details of what you can do, but we can discuss like what you need to do within your resume. It's definitely the way I think about a resume is that piece of paper it's worth actual money, right? Like I think of it as I think backwards. I'm like, this piece of paper is worth $1 million. What can I put in here succinctly that describes my work experience that's easy to understand for the specific role I'm applying for? So there's a specific way to do that, and I can definitely talk more about that. And the last thing is, once you've crafted a strong LinkedIn profile, once you have a good resume, what do you do with that collateral? The thing to do then is really catch the attention of people, again, recruiters, hiring managers, or future colleagues that may be able to help you in your job search, right? So it's getting their attention via LinkedIn emails or through emails, right? So it's really being able to craft a strong message, a short message of like who you are, what you've done, what your interests are, to really connect with that person, right? Another strategy I would use is to really reach out to someone that you're interested in connecting with, just to really learn about them, more of like a networking tool, right? But really, I think the key to how to stand out is to really figure out how to be attractive, right? As a competitive employee or candidate in this job market. I'm going to move on to number 3. I'm going to skip over number 2 for now, but number 3 is skills you can continuously sharpen, whether you're unemployed or happily employed. So there's 3 main skills I'll highlight. The first one is communication, right? So I think throughout my career, when I first started working, it's something I'm continuously trying to improve is communicating. And communicating is not just speaking. It's not, saying the right things. It's the written word as well as your spoken word, and really being articulate with what you're writing as well as speaking, and really understanding your audience as well, right? So there's an art and science to obviously, sharpening communication, but something you should continuously be doing. One way to do that is, one, to practice and do it, but the other way is to really copy people whose communication styles you really like or have seen be really effective. Like anytime I receive a really awesome email or a really awesome like phone call, I take note of it and then I try to practice that the next time, so that way it's part of my repertoire. Second thing I like to highlight for skills is networking. Networking is vital. It allowed me to kind of progress in my career. I shifted careers from one thing, from sales to recruiting later on, not in life, but like later on than most people. But what allowed me to progress is my ability to network. And I think the thing that makes your networking strong is if you have a genuine and authentic care about the other person to connect and to learn, right? It's definitely a learning opportunity. The other part of networking is how can I myself add value, right? You're not connecting with this person to get something from them. That will happen if there's a connection, but you're really connecting to see how you, based on what you've done so far, can add value. And you might say that, hey, I'm early in my career, I'm switching jobs, I don't know how to add value. There is some way you can add value either today or maybe even in the future, but you're going into that meeting or that conversation with learning more about that person so that you can add value in the future. Within networking, there's a few different buckets or for a few different groups. There's internal networking. So if you're currently employed, always be networking with internal colleagues. So those could be your colleagues at your same level. Those could be your managers. Those could be, department heads. And it's something as easy as, we're working in the same organization. We'd love to grab some coffee with you sometime to learn a little bit more about what you're working on, what you're doing, and then introduce yourself, right? That's internal networking. It's generally a little bit easier. I do it all the time, and it's something I practice. The second kind of networking is external networking. So networking with peers outside. So from my perspective, networking with other recruiters at different companies, really learning about them, what they're working on, etc. The second kind of external networking is heads of businesses you're a part of. So as a recruiter, I currently support our advertising sales business. I network with heads of sales for different companies. So for example, like Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Like I'll just ask them for 30-minute conversation to chat about what they're doing, learn more about them, and should an opportunity arise, I can make the right connections. The third kind of external networking is business professionals you share a common interest with. So this one's interesting because I think that's how myself and Shahid Bhai connected, and then later on Zaman Bhai. We work in different spheres, but we're all connected today based on The Optimist. I think Shahid Bhai and myself connected over some other webinar we were part of, and then he was awesome enough to reach out, and then we connected. But we had a common interest outside of what our core daily job is, right? Which allowed me to be part of this opportunity today. And the third one, and the last one, is external recruiting with people that you admire, right? We all see like let's say Jeff Bezos or let's say Elon Musk, right? Some of us might admire them and they're super awesome, but it might be hard to get a hold of them or have a conversation with them. But there are folks just of like strong caliber, strong leadership qualities that are maybe like much more easy to access, right? We'll find them on LinkedIn, and my suggestion is reach out to them. You never know if they might say yes to a conversation, and you might find that to be fruitful, right? So that's kind of my summary of networking. And the last point I'll talk about is continuous learning. So it kind of echoes what Jawan Bhai said. Continuous learning is key. And it's it should be common sense, but it's not common sense, and you should be reading constantly different things, right? The things I highlighted were read things that are relevant to your specific industry or the industry you would like to get into. The words within a book are usually experiences of somebody else's that you can, leverage to advance your own career, right? In a shortened period of time. That's why reading is beneficial. The other way to continuously learn is how do you learn from the best in your industry, right? So one of my goals was to be one of the best recruiters. It's not an often thought about role from a Bangladeshi perspective, but I wanted to be the best at this thing. And then so I started reaching out to the best in market, right? Oftentimes recruiters get a bad name, or they might have a bad reputation, but I sought out the best recruiters, and sometimes the best recruiters are even hiring managers, right? So talking to a hiring manager or an engineering leader of how they think about recruiting and how they recruit is something that I can use as a professional recruiter, right? As this is an example. And the last point I'll talk about is actually taking a course online, right? Like I'm taking a couple of different courses myself. Like I like finance, so I'm taking a financial analysis course. But like there's different opportunities. So you can take courses on LinkedIn, Coursera, Udemy, even watch YouTube videos. They're free as long as you sit through some ads. But there are things out there you can learn, be it communication style, be it like skill specific. If you're interested in sales, maybe some sales tactics. If you're interested in digital marketing, you can learn some SEO topics there. But I would definitely leverage the free online resources, or even if it's like a few dollars to take like a subscription-based course. But there's definitely lots of free opportunities available. And to wrap up, I'll speak about some non-technical roles. So non-technical roles, consider, there's a whole bunch of them. I'll speak more specifically about sales, recruiting, and project management as an option, right? Oftentimes, Bangladeshis or Desis think about, navigating the tech world through technical roles, so engineering or product-centric roles. But there's lots of opportunities that pay even comparable to a lot of the engineering roles within the sales org, within the recruiting org, within the project management org. Again, each one of those is like its own discussion, which I can share more about. But I think for the point of today, that should be sufficient.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray. So let's get into the question, Q&A section, because we are going to expect some of you to answer, ask some questions. One of the thing I gathered and collected some feedback from people on our community, and কিছু question আমার কাছে submit করা হয়েছে. So I'm going to ask specific question. Jaman bhai, when you said it, like the numbers আমি যখন শুনি, 200, 300,000 job required on Amazon, right? They're going to hire. The problem, আমরা যখন রেগুলার পার্সপেক্টিভে দেখি, হয়তো আমি টেক সেক্টরে আছি, আমি বুঝতে পারতেছি, বাট এখন যারা আমরা রেগুলার বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি যারা এখন ইউএসএ মার্কেটে আছেন, ওরা অনেক সময় কিউএ ফিল্ডে চলে যান সাথে সাথে, রাইট? সো আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করা হয় যে একজন স্পেসিফিকলি জিজ্ঞেস করছে আমি কি পারবো এডাব্লিউএস সার্টিফাইড হতে, অথবা আমাজনের এই যে এত জব, আমার কি ইভেন কোনো ক্যাপাসিটি আছে, কারণ আমি টেকনিক্যালি নট গুড। নাও একটা জিনিস আমি বলবো যে লাস্ট 10 ইয়ার্সে কিন্তু অনেকে ইভেন রেস্টুরেন্ট জব থেকেও গিয়ে কিউএ জবে কি কইরা আমরা উই গট এ গুড জব, বাট উই কুড নট সাস্টেইন ইট, রাইট? সো আমি আপনাকে সিম্পল ওয়ে যদি একটু এক্সপ্লেন করতে পারেন, এন্ড দ্যাট ইজ রিলেভেন্ট টু পিপল ইন বাংলাদেশ অলসো। সো ডেফিনেটলি if you can explain us, walk us through যে আমাজনের অপরচুনিটিগুলোর সাথে আমাদের কমিউনিটির আপনার এক্সপেরিয়েন্স থেকে কিরকম পিপল ক্যান কানেক্ট এন্ড হাউ দে ক্যান স্টার্টিং পয়েন্টটা খুব জরুরি, যে আমি এটা শিখবো অথবা এটা শেখা উচিত, অথবা একটা স্পেসিফিক ফিল্ড যদি বলেন।
ধন্যবাদ শাহিদ ভাই, একটা চমৎকার একটা প্রশ্ন। সো আমার ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডের কথা বলি, লেট মি স্টার্ট উইথ মাই সেলফ। আমার পড়াশোনা কিন্তু অ্যাকাউন্টিং এ, সো আই ডোন্ট হ্যাভ এনি আইটি ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড, I don't have any software development. I don't think I have ever written a single line of code. I don't even have a QA background. I have not taken anything. So regardless of your background, you can be good. But aro bole rakhi, jodi computer science background thake, you can be super good. That's the biggest thing, because you have a foundation. Acha. Now, how do you start with a company like Amazon or Google or Microsoft or somebody who's really hiring crazy, especially on the IT field? And I'm gonna focus on the tech career side, and then I'll let Rebhai talk about a few others, but I'll touch on the other stuff too. When I was looking for a job, I do extremely thorough research. আমাজনে জবের জন্য আমি 1 মাস আমি আমার প্রিপারেশনের জন্য স্পেন্ড করছি। যদিও আমি I'm in the cloud computing side since 93 when I started with the 91 I started working, but 93 I started with cloud computing. So I have quite a bit of experience in that side. I've seen that progression. However, I thought it's a day one. Amazon একটা culture আছে, we say day one, meaning that I know nothing about it, and you have to start right there and start from it. Because if you come with baggage, a lot of time, you're so proud of it, you can't get out of that mentality that, oh, I know this is how to do it. And all on a sudden, you're, আমরা যেটা বলি না, nobody can say your baby is ugly. So it's a bad example, but again, same thing. আমি যে ওইটা জানি, ওইটা কিন্তু একটা burden. So let's start completely new, fresh, and think brand new. Nobody knows. I don't know either. I'm gonna learn. So if we can start from there, that's a big task. আমার মতে এটাই সবচেয়ে বড় ব্যারিয়ার, কারণ আমাদের কাঁধে এত বেশি বোঝা থাকে যে বুঝে ফেলতে পারি না। So that's number one thing. তারপরে কি করতে হয়? So let's say my journey. I started. আমি অক্টোবরে আমাজনে ঢুকছি, আমি সেপ্টেম্বরে, middle of September, I started that journey. I went to YouTube. I found out how to do interview in Amazon, really. And I found out, to my amazement, I found out there are a ton of videos that actually tells you exactly how to do interview in Amazon. আমাদের সময় কিন্তু অনেক আগে কিন্তু এই সুবিধাটা ছিল না। এখন কিন্তু আমি গুগল যদি সার্চ করি, একটা ভালো পয়েন্ট আছে, আমি রে ভাই হয়তো জানে আরো ভালো, গ্লাসডোরে গেলে কিন্তু দেখা যাবে এক্স্যাক্টলি ইন্টারভিউতে কি ধরনের প্রশ্ন করছে, কত টাকা বেতন আমি জিজ্ঞেস করতে পারবো। মানে so much so about the interview process that you can learn. You'd be so comfortable when you go to the interview. Amazon interview is extremely tough. On an average, আমার মনে হয় 200 লোককে ইন্টারভিউ নিলে একজন জব পায়। So it doesn't matter how good you are, you might or might not get a job, but so you have to really prepare. It's a very good test. But if you prepare for Amazon, you'll be successful in a lot of places. Let me go through this process. Now, তার মানে আমি শুরু করে প্রথম জিনিসটা আমার করতে হবে, I have to do a research on the place that I want to go. I need to know about that company extremely well, the vision of the company, the culture of the company, how do they do this stuff, the position that I'm going in, what is expected of. আমি প্রচুর ইন্টারভিউ নেই, as you can imagine. I hire more than মানে একটা big number of people all the time. প্রায় 75% ইন্টারভিউ আমেরিকাতে বসে নিচ্ছি, তারা জব ডেসক্রিপশনটাই ঠিক মতো পড়ে নাই। So that's not a good thing to start with. And again, Ray bhai বলছে LinkedIn. I go and check out LinkedIn. দেখি LinkedIn তাকে কতজন রেকমেন্ড করছে, তারা তার অন্য লোকজন তার সম্পর্কে কি বলতেছে, তার LinkedIn প্রোফাইলটা কেমন। আমি যদি দেখি যে একটা ছবির কথা বলছেন, if it is a professional picture, it's a welcoming picture. If I read something that is welcoming, oh, it's এর সাথে আমি কাজ করতে চাই, I look at it very carefully. For every person I interview like on an average, আমি আপনাকে উদাহরণ দিয়ে বলতে পারি, সপ্তাহে কমপক্ষে আমি 10টা ইন্টারভিউ নিই, মিনিমাম, অ্যাবসলিউট মিনিমাম 10টা ইন্টারভিউ। সো ইট ডাজন্ট ম্যাটার আমি হায়ার করি বা না করি, আমি 10টা ইন্টারভিউ আমি নিচ্ছি সবসময়। So I can see I have already a very Amazon বেশিরভাগ লোকই very well calibrated on interview side. So তার মানেটা কি? তার মানেটা দাঁড়াচ্ছে যে আমার সাথে যদি কেউ ইন্টারভিউতে কথা বলতে চায়, I can possibly tell within 5 minutes that if this person is going to be good or not. ওই 5 মিনিট পরে আমি বাকি 5 মিনিটের জন্য আমি তাকে সময় দিচ্ছি যে কথা বলার জন্য, তার 5 মিনিট পরে তার বাকি সময়। তার মানে কি, এই জিনিসটা কিন্তু আমাদের খুব ভালো মতন জানতে হবে। আমি যে তোমাকে হায়ার করবো বা আপনাকে যে হায়ার করবো, I want to hire somebody who knows way more than I do. ওইটা ভুল ধারণা, হায়ারিং ম্যানেজার অফেন্ডেড হবে, those are long time ago. I do not want to hire somebody who knows less than I do, কারণ তাহলে তো কাজটা আমার করতে হবে তার না করে। So I really, that is a very good point. In fact, it's in the YouTube, it tells you. Amazon talks about there are 14 leadership principles. You need to know every one of them by heart before you come to this interview. So again, do very thorough research. Then নাও এখন আসি আমরা ফাংশনাল সাইডে, যে আমি একজন সফটওয়্যার ডেভেলপমেন্ট ইঞ্জিনিয়ার হিসেবে কাজ করব বা সলিউশন আর্কিটেক্ট হিসেবে কাজ করব বা হোয়াট এভার দ্যাট পজিশন, লেটস সে আমি টেক সাইডে থাকি, সলিউশন আর্কিটেক্ট হিসেবে বা সফটওয়্যার ডেভেলপমেন্ট ইঞ্জিনিয়ার হিসেবে আমি কাজ করব। I need to know everything possible to the best of my knowledge and ability. For that, I have to stand out. My brand, myself, and my brand has to stand out for that. To do that, লিঙ্কডইনে তো একটা দিল, আমাকে দরজা খুলে দিল ঢোকার জন্য। এখন ওখানে বসে আমার প্রেজেন্স শুড বি সো গ্লোয়িং দ্যাট I'm gonna be hired. To do that, how I impress them? আমি অ্যামাজনে ঢোকার আগে প্রথমে আমি যেটা করছি, যে অ্যামাজন সম্পর্কে আমার কোনোই ধারণা ছিল না, সত্যি কথা বলতে। Because I work for Dell, a hardware company. Amazon was a cloud company. I work for Dell, a virtual stream is a enterprise application into the cloud. Amazon is a DevOps culture, completely two different mentalities. And I learned about all those differences. Then I actually took initiative. I started studying for solution architecture and developer architecture. There are 12 core certification. I went through a bunch of different those certification courses, and I actually passed one certification course before my first interview happened. So it has to be very self-driven. I have to prove myself that I'm actually worthy of this interview. Forget about the job. I have to prove myself I'm worthy of the interview. And Mr. Hiring Manager, Mr. Recruiter, the time that you're spending is a well-spent time, not waste of your time. Okay. So now, I know the culture, I know technical capabilities. Now, how do I start with the technical capabilities? In fact, আমি যদি অ্যামাজনে যাই, আমি দেখবো তাদের কোন জিনিসে তারা ফোকাস করতেছে। ইট ইজ ভেরি ক্লিয়ার তাদের ব্লগ গুলাতে, সবগুলোতে। যেমন অ্যামাজনে এখন যদি আমি বলি সার্ভারলেস, ডেটা লেক, অ্যানালিটিক্স, আইওটি, data science type of, these are the trendy things, এখন আমি যদি এগুলো নিয়ে বেশি কথা বলি, দেন এখন আমার কাছ সাথে যদি সে এগুলো নিয়ে কথা বলতে পারে কনফিডেন্টলি এন্ড উইথ নোয়িং দ্য স্টাফ, না ফ্লাফ হিসেবে না, তখন আই উড বি ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টেড, বিকজ দিস ইজ দ্য পারসন হু ইজ taking me to the next level. How do I learn those things? There are YouTube videos, no limit to it. Number one, আমি এখন দিয়ে দিতে পারি ইউটিউব ভিডিও যেখানে 3 ঘন্টার মধ্যে পুরো সার্ভারলেসের বুট ক্যাম্প কমপ্লিট করায় দিবে। আমি এখনই দিয়ে দিতে পারি সেখানে হলো 10 ঘন্টার ভিডিও আছে, যেটা হলো সলিউশন আর্কিটেক্টের, ইউটিউব ফ্রি। আর ইউডেমিতে গেলে তো স্পেসিফিক কোর্স আছে, so you can take those things and you can learn about it. So it's our intention, if we really want that job, we can get that job. You don't need to have the computer science background. If you're a QA, you are far ahead. You already know Java, you already know how to do 3-tier architecture, you are testing these applications other people have built. So you are so far ahead of me already that you might, if you take 1 month worth of time, you'd be very well prepared. Now assume that you have no background. I still think if you take 6 months worth of time, you're going to be so far ahead. In fact, I literally hired one person. Her background is a political science, and she was a campaign manager for one of the political office. So, she has so much potential. She knew data inside and out. কিভাবে data use করে এই যে ক্যাম্পেইন চালাতে হয়, এবং হাউ ইউ ক্যান ম্যানিপুলেট দোজ ডেটা এন্ড হোয়াট আর দ্য থিংস। এবং সে যেটা আমাকে বলছে, আমি যদি আমাজনে যাই, আমি অলরেডি শিখছি, শি ইজ ভেরি গুড অ্যাট ইট, শি লার্ন আ লট অফ স্টাফ। সে বলছে যে আমি দেখছি আমাজন এত কিছু দিচ্ছে, এই যে ডেটা, আমার যে ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড পলিটিক্যাল ক্যাম্পেইন ম্যানেজারের যে ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড, এটা যদি আমি আমাজনের সলিউশন আর্কিটেক্টের সাথে যদি খাপ খাওয়াই, আই ক্যান টেক all of your customers to the next level. I mean, that message by itself was so resonating. I said that why shouldn't I hire this person? I mean, literally, you need to prove yourself that তোমাকে বা আপনাকে ছাড়া এই জবটা চলবে না. That's how to get it hired.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to tell you that it's not hard work. It must be hard work. It is a lot of barriers. You got to break all those barriers. And for that, I wanted to also do an offer. The offer is that come to this Optimus platform, ask Shahid Bhai a question or whatever, the website or Facebook. We're going to be connected. You have any question, you want to know anything about it, where to get it, how to learn it. Learning is up to you, but I can give very prescriptive guide on what things that you need to do.
Thank you, Jaman bhai, very important information. So একটা জিনিস শুধু রিমাইন্ডার, and maybe you will agree with me, যে যখনই আমাকে আমাজন যখন ইনভেস্ট করতেছে সার্ভারলেস আইওটি, আপনাকে বুঝতে হবে যে জব মার্কেটে এই জবগুলা নেক্সট 10 years will dominate, কারণ দে ক্যান সি ফার্দার এহেড দেন। চিন্তা করে দেখেন 1998 যখন ই কমার্স আমাজন শুরু করে বা 90, তখন আমরা বুক শপ মানে, বাট যখন জেফ বেজোস কথা বলছে যে it's going to take over the world, imagine if you become a good seller on Amazon, you could be a millionaire right now. If you have learned AWS 10 years ago, you have a very steady job right now. So আমি সবসময় লোকজনকে অ্যাডভাইস করি, whenever big companies are investing on something, I am very passionate about IoT for last 5 years. I know that it will rule the world, but আমাদের mentality, and especially in our immigrant community, sometimes we think that it is hard. We just give up. We should actually think about that. You don't need to learn the whole thing. You start right now. Maybe 5 years later you will go there. Any comment on that? যে শুধু আমি বলবো না আমাজনের জবের ব্যাপারে, IoT and serverless and এই ধরনের AWS এর টেকনোলজিগুলো শিখলে আপনি গুগলে পাবেন, smaller company will adopt it. They will hire you also, right? You can start your own business also. Any comment?
That's a very good point. এই যে টেকনোলজি গুলো শিখলে যে শুধু আমার জব করতে হবে এমন কোনো কথা নাই, আমি বিজনেসও করতে পারি। আমাজন, গুগল, মাইক্রোসফট সবারই কিন্তু পার্টনার নেটওয়ার্ক আছে। মিনিং ইউ ওপেন আপ এ কোম্পানি, ইউ পার্টিসিপেট ইন পার্টনার নেটওয়ার্ক, বেসড অন ইউর স্কিল ইউ ক্যান গেট এ জব। আমাজনের একটা জিনিস আছে বল আমাজন আইকিউ। ইফ ইউ হ্যাভ আমাজন স্পেশালিটি, এই যে 12টা সার্টিফিকেট কমপ্লিট করলাম, সার্ভারলেস শিখলাম, আইওটি শিখলাম, আমি কিন্তু আমাকে নিজেরে পোস্ট করতে পারি আইকিউ, দেন ইউ গেট জব ফ্রম ডিরেক্টলি ফ্রম আমাজন। You don't have to work for Amazon. You actually get job directly through Amazon IQ. And there is a lot, this demand is not going anywhere. Just look at for the IT companies, they are hiring. Trust me, even the large বড় বড় কোম্পানি গুলাতেও কিন্তু তারা জানে না কিভাবে ক্লাউডে যেতে হবে। আমরা মনে করি যে অনেকেই তো ক্লাউডে চলে গেছে, আমাজন তো কন্টিনিউয়াসলি গ্রো করতেছে, মাইক্রোসফটের ক্লাউড সাইট গ্রো করতেছে, গুগলের ক্লাউড সাইট গ্রো করতেছে, বাট there are আমার মতে এখন মোর 70-80% কোম্পানি they are not even close. তার মানে a tremendous amount of opportunity is right now at this moment. If I start and I say that okay, আমি কিছুই জানি না, তার মানে আমার ওনার লাগছে হলো 3 সপ্তাহ, আমার লাগবে 6 সপ্তাহ, আমার লাগবে 6 মাস, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই। আজকে যদি শুরু করি 6 মাসের মধ্যে, and if I become very fundamentalist, very religious, very radical, I can actually be a super expert in 6 months. এই টেকনোলজি গুলা এখন শেখা অনেক সহজ। আগে আমাদের বুট ক্যাম্প, আমি 93 তে যখন আমি এমসিএসই কমপ্লিট করছি, বুট ক্যাম্প করতে হতো 6টা পরীক্ষার জন্য 5 দিন যেতে হতো, বইও ছিল না, ওই বুট ক্যাম্প না করলে বই পাওয়া যেত না। Everything is at our fingertip right now. I want it, click, it's there. So the benefit is now, as you're mentioning, anybody, literally একজন একটু educated, you must have to speak English, you need to know that common basic skills, soft skill, but you can really be an expert on these things.
Thank you. I have a question from Mr. Imad Hussain. As a student of accounting department, a question to honorable guest: what are the top 3 skills very good accountant has it? Ray, I don't know whether you want to take it. Maybe you can just quickly answer if you have any knowledge. But related to that, I also want to ask you a question. From my experience in last 15 years, talking to a lot of people in our community, especially in Bangladeshi community, that we don't realize that how much job potential. When you say project management, I would say before that project coordinator, right? Now, this is a global world right now. Every company is this pandemic time, everybody is working remotely. They have an office in India, China, and other places. Our skill set is not bad because we understand that Eastern Asian culture, right?
Yep.
So having that strength, it is a strength. Like that there are 2 fields I actually recommend all the time when people come to me from Bangladesh or they are looking for job opportunity. I say project coordination and like technology. Technology is my strength, but I feel like you can learn project coordination, project management anywhere, even in a restaurant, and apply for a job if you can. So I want to talk about those things. I don't know whether you can want to answer Imad Hussain question and then the second point.
Sure. So I'll preface by saying that I don't touch accounting or finance roles that intimately, but and it's also a broad question, right? So for example, the 3 things that a recruiter or hiring manager or the team will look for is as follows. 1 is your technical skills, right? So whether it's accounting, finance, etc., how technically sound and strong are you, right? So that's definitely 1. The second one is your ability to communicate what you're able to do, right? So let's say they want you to do like a P&L report or whatever. They want you to be able to communicate to that document or to that thing that you've created. And the third thing they'll look for is your ability to be coachable, right? If you're a fresh grad or kind of transitioning, every team, regardless of size, always want the ability to be coached, right? Kind of like Zaman Bhai said, it's always day one. That means you should always be able to learn something new. If you're unable to learn something new continuously, then it's not really a good thing, right? So I would kind of focus it that way. So make sure you're technically sound, make sure your communication skills are sharp, and the third one is always be eager to learn or continuously learning. I hope that helps.
My second question about project coordination, you want to answer that? Like, if there is a potential, like when you say project management, what are the steps? Because it is a skills. I see that there are so many jobs out there, but our community is shy away because they think it's a big position, like project management.
Yep.
But you can be a college grade and start as a project coordinator and become project manager. It's a project coordination can happen in your university also when you are learning, dealing with a team, right?
Yep. So project coordination, one of those like early transition roles or early in career roles. The key point would be to extract what you did in another role. For example, if you're doing project coordination or operations at a restaurant or in a retail operation and you want to translate that into a larger tech company, it's being able to, in the written word as well as spoken word, translate it so that that company can understand what you actually did to optimize efficiency in that operation pipeline, right? For example, like if you used to do like back end stock for a retail operation, right? What systems did you use? Who did you work with internally to make sure it was efficient? What was the output pre you implementing the system, and what was the output post implementing the system, right? Those things, if you put it into, I guess, a more organized way that tech companies understand, would allow you to kind of get your foot in the door. And then when you get on the phone with a recruiter, actually explain to them what you did, right? So being able to communicate that effectively to a recruiter so they understand would allow you to get that first project coordination role. And then it's on you to continually learn what good PMing looks like, right? Then you can get certifications. Then you can learn Six Sigma and all those other things. But like the first step is really being able to translate what you did in another role for that specific company's project coordination role.
Thank you. We have a question from Mr. Jahadur Rahman Khan. I think he's on automation, currently doing QA and automation. Jaman Bhai, I want to touch that area because you have to understand a lot of people in our community is already on QA sector. And I have another specific question, but before that, do you want to take this?
So I was talking in the mute. So that's a very good question. But I wanted to. I'm not a super expert, just so you know, in automation. What I've seen, however, in the automation, there is a lot of jobs that you can do it because it used to be, or it is still, a very highly desired one that you can take like a month-long course, and then you, to some extent, can be an expert on that particular task and oriented technologies, and then you start working and you do that. And again, you have particular script that you follow or particular skills that you follow. What I've seen is the same thing like any other places. You have some certification, you have some qualification metrics, and you grow yourself. What I have seen within AWS, a lot of these QA are moving towards testing in the cloud, and there are a lot of different various tools available natively in the cloud. So while these are tool-based solution, which is still going to be needed, I told before, there's 70% companies still not in the cloud, and they have very complex applications. Those are still running. They don't know how to move it, and on something like that, they're going to need এরকম QA দরকার, তাদের কোনো continuous লাগবে. I feel like that there will be a lot more automation in that. Already automated tool ase, but I feel like that there would be machine learning coming in within that automation, that you're not doing anything. Essentially, it's learning by itself. Meaning, আমার ওই টুলটা জানার চেয়ে আমার জানতে হবে how do I write an algorithm that is going to make it, meaning that I need to know how to use machine learning. I need to know how to build that algorithm. কারণ যারা এই কিউতে কাজ করতেছে, they know all these process, they know all these tools, they know exactly what to do with it. You are at this moment in taking it the next level, building that in a machine learning model, how and you should be writing and you should be focusing on the algorithm. The reason I'm saying that, what I have seen, আগে আমরা কিউ এর জন্য প্রচুর টাকা খরচ করতে, একটা দেখা গেল যে টেস্টিং এর জন্য স্পেশালি all different kind of regression test, functional test, unit test, all different kind of testing এর জন্য there was a lot of big budget. Now people don't even have that time and the budget, neither one. So what they do, they want all of those to be fully automated. One of the biggest components that you see, functional test is not going to go anywhere. However, your load test and stress test might disappear. I shouldn't say exactly going to go away, but it's going to be diminishing significantly. কারণ আমরা যদি সার্ভারলেস কম্পিউটে যদি চলে যাই, সার্ভারলেস কম্পিউট, সার্ভারলেস database যদি চলে যায়, I don't need to do any more load test. It doesn't really matter. It just comes in as my load gets increased, it's already there. So I don't need to do that load testing anymore. I don't have to have a capacity for 10 million click per second because I'm only doing 10,000 or 1,000 right now, but it needs to be 10 million. If I go to serverless, I don't need that. Because that's the function of the serverless itself. However, the functional thing is, my database ready for to get that in processing the আমার কোড লাইন যেগুলো লেখা আছে. I also see that a code remediation গুলাও automated. For example, a company called SmartShift, if you look at that kind of things. Sosta, if you look at those kind of stuff. These are the technologies, new generation. Tool-based, not going anywhere in near future, but to develop ourselves, we need to go a little bit advanced to the next level. What happens is that এই কারেন্ট টুল বেস, কারেন্ট ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড উপরে বেস করে আমি এই জবটা পাবো, যেখানেই আমি যাব. We talked about and Ray talked about is that we need to take our leadership. How do I do this testing? আগে আমার লাগতো এক সপ্তাহ, আমি কিভাবে সেটা এক ঘন্টাতে করতে পারি. And if I can provide that leadership, I actually fundamentally become that next person. It can be done, really can be done. You just need to think hard and need to know all the tools that is available, especially in the cloud side, especially in the new technology side, and you can start working on it. What I'm also want to make sure that everybody understand, QA is going to be needed. QA is going to be needed because I don't, nobody wants their application to be out there. However, if you look at the microservices model, আগে আমার সমস্ত ফুল অ্যাপ্লিকেশনটা টেস্ট করতে হতো, এখন কিন্তু করতে হচ্ছে না. Microservices, when I deploy it, is only one piece is impacted, so I don't really have to do that much testing. So it's this QA model is changing. The task is going to be needed. We just need to change ourselves of what future looks like.
That's very good. Jaman bhai, a following up question, somebody asked me actually yesterday, and I want to ask you. So there are a lot of people who are on the QA field, and আমি আবার বলবো যে বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি কি হয়, অনেকেই QA ফিল্ডে জাম্প করছে, অনেকে QA ফিল্ডে আছে. So like they are in their late 30s or 40s. Now, is it too late to start with something new on Amazon and this kind of things, or what do you see in the future? কারণ ব্যাপারটা হইতেছে কিউ এর ফিল্ডটা কিন্তু লিমিটেড হয়ে যাইতেছে. জব মার্কেট ইজ শ্রিঙ্কিং, রাইট? এন্ড সাম পিপল আর স্টিল গোয়িং টু দ্য কিউএ স্কুল. কিউএ স্কুল অনেক বুম হয়েছিল নিউ ইয়র্কে বা ইস্ট কোস্টে, বাট এখন it's going back. So আপনি যখন AWS বলেন, are those people can also try themselves? কারণ technically কিন্তু AWS is very challenging, but I'm sure related to cloud there are a lot of other things coming along. You don't need to become a programmer. যখনই লোকজন AWS শুনে মনে করে আমাকে প্রোগ্রামার হতে হবে, but as somebody with 10 years 15 years QA experience, they can be a valuable asset for cloud computing এর অনেক পোর্শনে কাজ করতে পারবে. I want you to discuss little bit about that.
No, without a question, absolutely. কারণ কিউ এর তাদের কিন্তু একটা ডাইভার্স একটা ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড আছে, কিন্তু আমি যেটা দেখি, they're not taking advantage of this thing. সত্যি কথা বলতে যারা কিউএ তারা করে কি একটা তারা মনে করে ইটস এ টাস্ক, আই ফিনিশ দ্য টাস্ক, আই ডান। এ লট অফ কিউএ আমি যাদেরকে চিনি তাদের কিন্তু ইভেন কিউএ ওই যে এসকিউএ অথবা ডিফারেন্ট যে সার্টিফিকেশন গুলো আছে, they don't even have those certification and qualification. I also see that QA তে যারা ছিল তারা কিন্তু প্রসেস ওরিয়েন্টেড কোনো কিছু মানে অনেক লিমিটেশন আছে। I was actually talking to a big QA team, I would say maybe a month ago or something in that range. I was shocked that a lot of them did not know the governance, meaning the compliances and the governance is required. কারণ আমার মনে হয় যে while the QA task is eliminating, reducing, but QA job is going to be increasing. কেন বলতেছি? কারণ everything is going to be global. So when it becomes global, you actually have to do global compliance. And global compliance means that you need to know what GDPR is. And what does it mean when I do this application and I have to test 5 things and it doesn't have the a button to remove all user data? Boom, I need to have that data. As a QA person, I'm not providing that particular input. But if I, as a QA person, provide that input, I become extremely valuable to the business and I am become integrated to the business. That person has a much better value than, okay, এই 5টা স্ক্রিপ্ট আছে এগুলো রান করতে হবে, এই আমার সেলেনিয়ামের টাস্ক গুলো আছে এগুলো আমার রান করতে হবে। That becomes more. Again, what we talked about, both of us talked about, the leadership is going to be the disruption in during pandemic যেটা আমাদেরকে করছে, অটোনমি দিছে আমাদেরকে, কিন্তু আমাদের মধ্যে লিডারশিপটাও গ্রো করতে হবে। সো এই কিউএ জবটা আমরা করতে পারি, দিস আর দ্য functional skill we're learning, but we actually have to add on to our own initiative that আমাদের নিজেদেরকে শিখতে হবে। অ্যানসারিং আপনার প্রথম কোশ্চেনটা একটু উত্তর দিই, যে এখন এই বয়সে আমাদের যে বয়স খুব কম তা না, এই বয়সে নতুন করে আমাজন শিখতে হয়েছে। দিস ইজ নট টাফ টু ডু। কিউতেও কিন্তু নতুন নতুন টেকনোলজি আসে এবং শিখতে হবে। যেহেতু আমার এটা প্রোগ্রেসিভ লার্নিং, যেহেতু কিউএর জন্য কিন্তু এটা প্রোগ্রেসিভ লার্নিং, বিকজ দে অলরেডি নো টেকনোলজি, দে ক্যান লার্ন সামথিং এলস। আমার কিন্তু যেটা হয়েছে, আমি যে শিখছি ওটা বাদ দিয়ে আবার নতুন করে জিনিস শিখতে হয়েছে। দোজ আর টু ডিফারেন্ট থিংস। এবং একটা জিনিস হলো, নতুন যে টেকনোলজি গুলো আছে এগুলো শেখা কিন্তু অনেক সহজ, বিকজ অফ দ্য ফ্যাক্ট ইটস অ্যাভেইলেবল। এটা খুবই এক্সপ্লেইন, এটা হাতে কলমে শিখাচ্ছে, ভার্সেস আমি বই পড়ে ম্যানুয়াল দেখে তারপর নিজে করতে হচ্ছে। এটা হাতে কলমে শিখিয়ে দিচ্ছে, যে ইউটিউবে ভিডিও আছে, ইউটিউবিতে যে আছে ওইখানে বলে এখানে যাও, এটা করো এটা করো এটা করো, শিখলাম কি শিখলাম সেটাও কনসেপ্টটাও আসছে। সো দিস ইজ এ ভেরি ইমার্সিভ লার্নিং এক্সপিরিয়েন্স। So it doesn't matter what age group you're in, 30 or 40, I think you can very easily learn these technologies much better. Not only that, you look at the progression of it. এখন আমি যদি এটা বিজনেস হিসেবে করতে চাই, Amazon is also in the bandwagon on the no code application, meaning you don't write a code, you write business logic. That's a different world. What happens is everything is done, even your QA, even your testing is done in the background. The only thing you write is business logic. Everybody is moving towards that. I would highly encourage everybody to look into that, কারণ এগুলা জানাটাও একটা ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট ব্যাপার। শাহেদ ভাই, একটা জিনিস আমি অ্যাড করে দিই, if the person, if you are in technology world and you don't have a Google alert set for emerging technologies, whatever the site is, it's for QA tools or other thing, if you don't have it set up, you're already falling behind. So today I tell everybody যে এখনই গুগল অ্যালার্ট সেট করে দেন, যাতে প্রতিদিন সকালে আপনার কাছে নিউজ ফিড চলে আসে যে কোন কোন জিনিসগুলো যে আমার জানা দরকার, যে কি হচ্ছে, শিখতে হবে তা না, জানা দরকার কি হচ্ছে, এবং আই ক্যান সি দোজ ট্রেন্ডস এন্ড আই ক্যান লার্ন দোজ ট্রেন্ডস। ইনফ্যাক্ট আপনি প্রথমে একটা কথা বলছিলেন না, মাইক্রোসফট এখানে ইনভেস্ট করতেছে, আমাজন ইনভেস্ট করতেছে, গুগল ইনভেস্ট করতেছে, that is the future. So I rather want to focus on the future versus what I do today that could be obsolete tomorrow.
Thank you. So Ray, I have a question from Jasir Bhai from Bangladesh. He used to live in New York for a long time and he has a lot of connection in here. I think we have a lot of people coming in. Even I have a lot of relatives coming in last 6 months, a year. Like they call me right away. They have good communication skill. Bangladeshi immigrants are no longer those people that, oh, I can speak English. Within few months, they become pretty good at communication, but they're struggling what direction to walk, right? Now, if you have to give like specific advice, like 1, 2, 3, like this is where 3 areas I would go and learn something. Jaman Bhai talks about YouTube. Udemy maybe. Uh,
Yep.
Beside, like I see that everybody come in and they just want to jump to QA school, which is no longer providing that kind of success rate anymore. I have to be very honest here that QA skill is not the solution for everyone. Not everybody can become QA, right? And there is a limited job market. You cannot find a job in East Coast most of the time, remote work and stuff. So tell us, what do you think about this? And his question is that Bangladeshi people coming from Bangladesh to here as an immigrant, what kind of training or preparation they can take in Bangladesh to get good jobs in USA?
Awesome. Again, it's a tough question, but it's also an easy question. So my assumptions are going to be that the English is pretty good, right? They're also, and since I'm more non-technical, I always lean towards like sales. Like I like sales roles. Sales is a good way to earn an awesome living, especially in America. You have to have, and I think anyone that's an immigrant that comes to the United States and is able to make that jump can be a strong seller, right? Like it's like the strongest sellers I've seen are actually immigrants, because it has that like inherent ability to go out and like do more and like, you know, really communicate with people. One of my first managers happens to be a Bangladeshi, and then he gave me a chance because I always was also Bangladeshi, and I learned sales from him, right? Like I love selling. I think it's even what we're doing, right? Even Zaman Bhai, he's presenting and talking, but he's actually selling the benefits of QA and why Amazon, why AWS, how the dynamic's going to change. And yourself, Shahid Bhai, you're also selling the optimists, right? I think if you change perspective of, and I personally would like to see more Bangladeshis in sales, right? I think we're hungry people by nature. I think we know how to communicate with people in a nice, comfortable way. We might not know topic or product specific knowledge, which we can pick up. It always changes based on company, but I think I would always encourage people to pick up books, free courses, webinars on sales techniques. It's technique driven, right? As opposed to a technology where you have to continuously keep on learning the technology. Sales is process driven and it's people driven, right? So if you can master people, which takes a long time, but if you can master process, you'll be phenomenal at sales, right? So like there's a few things to do, and it's applicable to almost any industry, right? Like sellers, in case you're not aware, like top sellers in like Salesforce or Amazon make well over $1 million. Average ones make like $200,000, right? Just as a number. A lot of that knowledge is not known. It's not like selling cars. It's a little bit different than selling cars or, you know, retail goods. This is like more complicated, complex sale. So think about Amazon, AWS, for example. The sellers they have on their global accounts team, their sales process might take like about a month to execute, and they're dealing with C-suite at top companies or heads of IT at top companies of why to implement AWS, right? Those sellers are some of the best I've seen, right? Even the sellers we have at Twitch, we sell advertising, different market, different industry. But the thing that they're really good at is really understanding people and then proposing solutions that Twitch has that can make them better. So sales is one category. Another category I like is what I'm in, like recruiting. We could talk more about that. It's a little bit different than sales. It's more about figuring out, you know, where really kind of crafting someone's career. But if you're first coming from Bangladesh, I would encourage you to look into sales kinds of roles, or the project coordinator is another kind of role to look into, right? So if you're very good at like operations or interested in the operations path, to figure out like how you can leverage what you've done outside to get into like a project management or a project coordination type role. The translation of role that you did there to here might differ, which is where someone like myself, Zaman Bhai or Shahid Bhai can help, or Optimist alumni can help in general. But it's definitely easy to kind of get into. The other thing about sales, it's generally a low barrier to entry kind of position, but mastery takes a long time, and the masters they're very, very strong. Yeah, that would be my suggestion. I hope that helps. But yeah.
Thank you. So my advice to Anis, Jasir, by what you said, there are easy entry to the market. When you said, Ray, if people even learn introduction to CRM, right? Not Salesforce even, HubSpot, like all these tools, right? Learning tools also very important. You can get a job just putting the data on a HubSpot CRM or any kind of CRM system, right? And how to follow up and send email on behalf of someone else. That is one area I feel like a good entry point. Other entry point, I see that people underestimated digital marketing. When I say digital marketing, a lot of Bangladeshi people, and I want to target a little bit about Bangladeshi. We are running out of time here, but Bangladesh sitting in there, digital marketing learning is a great place to start with because that will give you exposure to the business and you make connection and ultimately you can do other things through same connection, right? If you maintain like 10 companies in a website, their social media, which you can learn using only $30 course. If you take it on Udemy, you can maintain that and start your own entrepreneurship. If it doesn't work out, you can get a job. There are tons of job out there to maintain social media, and that's where my other advice is. Anything else from you guys before we close the session? And thank you. It has been a wonderful an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you, both of you. And Jaman Bhai, I would reach out to you again on behalf of Optimist if we need to do a seminar on specific, maybe a learning process. If more people showed interest, those who are watching and listening to us, we will reach out to you guys. Jaman Bhai is always there, and Ray. Thank you, both of you, for your time. And just want to let everyone know who is watching it that we are a non-profit organization, completely volunteer driven. If you have time, this is a good organization to get involved. Also, you can make connection with people like Mr. Jaman and other people. There is a strong Bangladeshi community on LinkedIn, and it is a nice thing to say that, hey, I'm a volunteer for Optimist, and then they will listen to you more than you just, hey, I am Mr. Dat. You have to help other people, and Optimist is a great platform. I have seen a lot of people got job because they volunteer on Optimist and they reach out to the next level. So anything else, the closing statement, Mr. Jaman and Ray?
I think I would say one thing is the call to action. If you guys want, as শাহিদ ভাই আপনি যে প্রস্তাবটা দিচ্ছেন যে আমাদের এখানে যারা প্রবাসী বাংলাদেশি আছে বা ইভেন দেশে যারা আছে, we can actually do a prescriptive workshop on career, meaning that how do I make a professional LinkedIn site, how do I get a lot of recommendation in my LinkedIn site, and how do I make it a something people are attracted with, starting from there, as well as okay, কোন কোর্সটা করলে আমি কি কি ধরনের প্রফেশনে যেতে পারবো, কি ধরনের ডিমান্ড আমার জন্য জেনারেট হবে. So these are the things. So with that, I mean, I would like to offer, and it's a great organization, Optimist. Anytime anybody needs any kind of help, please reach out to Optimist or myself in LinkedIn or Facebook or Messenger or something. More than happy to help anybody.
Thank you. Ray, I posted both of your LinkedIn profile, and they can search and they will reference Optimist, and please accept their request.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just gonna highlight that. I mean, LinkedIn is where I live. So if you want to reach out to me for any any questions you have or resume tips, etc., I can help you there. We can set up some additional time. But again, thank you for the opportunity, Shahid Bhai and Zaman Bhai, to kind of let me chat today about recruiting and my experiences.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Rubayat, who has organized everything. She's a volunteer for Optimist. And if you guys need anything, you can directly reach out to her on Facebook and other places. And we actually reply messages on Facebook. Thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll talk soon. And we'll have this recording available on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care.
The optimist seeks out and prioritizes